What's up, everybody? This is Chris again, New City Church Discipling Culture. I want to work on you a little bit with the up. And so what I want to do is I don't want to teach through this whole tool. Like, again, this is a tool from Mike Breen called the Hexagon of Prayer. Like, it is breaking up the Lord's Prayer out of Matthew 6 into 6 different segments, all right? And so while I don't think it's important really for me to teach you all the way through, I just want to kind of give you an example of how the first one works. And so, like, if I'm doing this with my discipling group, like I'm drawing this out on a whiteboard, I'm drawing the hexagon, and then I'm writing Matthew 6:9, and then I'm reading it straight from the Word, saying, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name." And I'm writing that down on the whiteboard. Now, here's the thing that I think is important. It's like we talk to the Lord wide open. But as you're discipling people who may or may not know how to pray, this is a great place for them to learn how. So like when the disciples came to Jesus, they said, "Hey, teach us how to pray." And Jesus didn't give them some kind of weird answer, just whatever you want to do. He said, "Hey, here's how you pray." And what I find interesting about the Lord's Prayer is that every leg of this causes us to reset our brain. All right, and so let me just kind of give you an example. When he says, "Our Father who art in heaven, holy is your name," like if you pause in that and just start asking questions like, what does this mean? Like, what do you think of? And immediately what your mind goes to is that, man, like the earth is the Lord's footstool. And that when he spoke, like existence happened. Like they call that word theopneustos. You don't need to know that, but like that's what's going on in my mind. It's like the Lord spoke and existence happened. Like he spoke, created things into being, and nobody's ever done that. Like he created the stars and the expanse of the universe, and like he holds all the foundations of the earth together. And he's working all things for the believer's good in the entire world. And you're like, as you begin to just kind of track down this path, it begins to blow your mind on how powerful he is, how awesome he is, like where he lives, like what he does. Like it just begins to explode in you, and you begin to understand, like your mind begins to reset into who you are in comparison to who he is. And the conflicts in your life and the hardships of your life, they fail in comparison to the greatness of who he is and what he has promised us. And so you can sit in that one leg of the Lord's Prayer for an entire day or an entire week, just remembering who God is and even speaking it out loud on what he's done, right? Because the more you say those things out loud, the more you realize that all of these things that you're doing, however hard they are, they're just momentary afflictions. Like they're just momentary. Like the conflict, pain, suffering, financial trouble, like they're momentary. And not one of those things has happened without the creator of the universe knowing about it, right? And so that's kind of how the Lord's Prayer works, right? I always work around the Lord's Prayer till I get to the one about forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And that one always hangs me up. Like I usually just kind of sit in that one. And so like if I'm doing this with my disciples, here's what I do. I always kind of work this out on a whiteboard with them, and I make them tell me what each of these legs of the Lord's Prayer do, what they mean, who they are in comparison to them. Like I want their minds resetting, and then whether we have time that day or whether we do it the following week or whether we just sign up for the entire week, is that we go do it. And so we go and we sit with the Lord, and we pray through these. And it always produces some sort of moment in their lives that we can unpack later. So again, this is like the up driving the out. It may be one of the first tools you want to use, because as they pray through this, it will create something in them that'll start a moment in their life that you get to process in the end. And so again, using the Lord's Prayer as a piece of the up, you may want to use the Lord's Prayer as your up every month. And just say, hey, you know what? We know the Lord's Prayer. Like this is week 400, and we're going to go sit with the Lord, and we're going to pray through the Lord's Prayer together, and then we're going to come back next week, and we're going to talk about what he said to us through it. Yeah? And so just another great tool. All right? If you have any more questions about this, holler at your spiritual parent. Man, don't freak out. All right? Remember, this is the Lord's work. This is the Lord's plan, so keep calm and disciple on.